Did you see the documentary on Mauro Ranallo and his bipolar?
I didn't get a chance to watch. I got caught up. Matter of fact, I'm redoing a lot of things in my house. I'm kind of making some changes around here. So I started painting my inside room. I had to cover a lot of stuff, including my TV, and just got things back in order to watch Raw tonight. So the last day and a half, which I wanted to watch it, but I will watch it this week.
Okay, so we'll talk about it in detail next week. I'll say this. I saw it. I thought it was phenomenal. I talked about it on Breakfast with Blassie, that I'm just annoyed with the way they handled the JBL situation, because, to me, he was just left out to dry for way too long before, whether it was true or not, they shouldn't have left JBL out to dry that long. But I'll say this. It informed me more about those who have bipolar. And sure, there are YouTube videos of medical cases, and there's other people who are battling it, and you can learn about the illness immediately. But to see someone who you enjoy, who is in the entertainment world, who is part of, something that you just absolutely, it's part of your wrestling fandom life, and to see the battle he's going through, you just... how could you not want to root for this guy? The only issue I had with it, and I am totally for capitalism and making money and just doing things the right way, but I saw Mauro Ranallo had done some interviews, and he said that he thinks this documentary will save some lives, and I believe it. It will definitely give a wake-up call for some people out there who may not necessarily admit to themselves that they have the problem, but family members, friends, co-workers, loved ones, significant others may start noticing things where, hey, so my loved one may have this thing. My only issue with it is this is so powerful that, yes, it could save lives. It sucks that you have to pay $10 in order to see it, because if you don't have a subscription to Showtime, you ain't watching this thing. It's getting pulled off of YouTube every time somebody puts up a link. And I totally understand why Showtime has to make money off of this. I mean, it wasn't free to put this together. I just think that sooner than later, they need to make this available for everyone.
Well, that was the thing I was also going to tell you. I actually, truth, hand to God, I had free Epix and Showtime up until a day before the Mauro Ranallo thing on Friday. It went out Thursday after midnight, went to my channels, noticed they were gone, went back and read, oh, shit, that's right. When I re-signed with Fios DT, they gave me a few 3 months. Free for a new contract. Pick a couple of channels, I get them free for several months. Ran out, I swear to God, 12 midnight Thursday. The thing was on Friday, so I actually have a couple of friends like, oh, I got Showtime, you want to come over and watch it? But I've just been painting my room inside, doing some changes around the house. So this week I'm going to show it one of my friends, and I'm going to watch it.
You'll really enjoy it, and it's really it'll blow you away in some segments. Is really powerful, and not trying to sound like an asshole, but conversation you and I had a year ago, and I had played a clip of it on Breakfast with Blassie. Maybe he shouldn't be getting the workload that he's getting. Sure, the workload may help him deal with this illness, but at the same time, this overwhelming workload might be, making it worse. And I'm surprised that there's that many opportunities out there for him, because, in spite of the illness that he has. Sometimes, if I was an employer and he's going through this, especially with the amount of travel and everything that's involved, I tend to think, all right, maybe, this isn't the right position to put him in. NXT right now, the stuff he's doing now is phenomenal. I think that's perfect. But what they had him doing before in SmackDown, I think it was just way too over the top to manage that, to do the podcast, to do the MMA stuff, and battle this illness at the same time.
And you think JBL became a victim of circumstance because maybe he was giving Ranallo a hard time, but not to the degree of driving him to being manic or something happened to him with episodes of panic or the bipolar thing kicking in. That it just was one of many things that kind of triggered it. No pun intended.
You know, the fact is, we don't know.
We don't really know.
We don't know what was said or what went on between JBL and Mauro Ranallo. All right. Do I think that JBL may have said a couple of things that might have been a little bit harsh? Absolutely. All right. I don't think, it's kind of like the Joey 924 stuff that we said a year ago. You know, we used to do a podcast with this kid. Well, he's not a kid anymore, but this guy, Joey 924, he was in a wheelchair. He was a cool guy. He went to some XPW shows with us, with me. And, you know, he was a cool guy. I mean, you know, he had his moments, but the one thing I couldn't stand about him is he would be really, really brash and like a real sarcastic wise ass at times. And when he would unload on me, soon as I tried to unload back, dude, you talking shit about a guy in a wheelchair? And I was like, motherfucker, if you're going to do the podcast and you want to have a set of balls like everyone else, it doesn't matter if you're in a fucking wheelchair or not. You have to take responsibility for what you say. Right. And the thing is that I think that some people did not understand the level of illness that Mauro Ranallo has. And I think some people looked at it like, hey, you know what? You want to be an announcer, you want to, talk shit, or you want to, make some snide remarks or retweet things that are a little bit nasty and sarcastic. Well, then you know what? You better be able to take a little bit of it back as well. And I think it just, a lot of people out there suffer from being bipolar, and they see what was going on with Mauro Ranallo. And sure, people will jump the gun and start pointing fingers and making accusations, and they look at JBL's history at his behavior, and a lot of people, I think, pointed the finger without any proof and just using, it's kind of like the Hogan stuff.
Dude, they were calling but people were calling for JBL to be fired.
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, that's how. I mean, without any merit of evidence of anything. Yeah. It was basically, oh yeah, he's a bully. I remember what he did to Brian Christopher 20 years ago, so he probably did that. Like, again, no evidence. You said it on Breakfast with Blasey. We're supposed to be a country of innocence before guilt, and somewhere along the lines it is completely reversed, and we got to bring it back to the normalcy of getting facts before we crucify people here, literally.
I say it every couple of months on the shows. I live in a country where it's innocent until proven guilty, and a lot of people think that's funny to hear, but that's the fact, plain and simple.
It is.
And in this country, you do get the capability of redeeming yourself, and everybody has an opportunity. I mean, obviously, you commit murder, it's kind of hard to redeem yourself from that.
Right,
but,
like look at Bill Cosby. He's not going to redeem his career at this point.
I mean, when I talk about Ultimate Warrior and how he grew as he, became a father and got married and he raised a family and he started learning about, the emotions, and he had certain views about, homosexuality that he felt, look, homosexuality is not going to run the world because you have two men, or two women with each other. How do you reproduce? How do you have children? How do you grow? You understand what I'm saying? Right. So that was his view scientifically. Morally, though, he changed his view. But now, because he's dead, and because you don't have people who are close around him, speaking up for, now you have people, how do you know he said that? How do you have any proof of it? But you see the private messages that you get and I get from people who are close to him and saying, look, thank you for this, thank you for that, appreciate what you said.
His manager was now Dana's manager, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, look at China. Courtney Summers brought to our attention that somebody wrote an article about whatever happened with the China documentary that people crowdfunded. First off, with all due respect to the podcast out there that said that everybody should get a lawyer and do a class action lawsuit, you need to do some Wikipedia on crowdfunding and stuff like that, because just like even the project that Rey Mysterio is doing right now with Conan and others, they have that Lucha promotion in the South. That I said a year and a half ago, and people could go on YouTube and hear the clip. A year or so ago, I said, pay attention to our Lucha. Pay attention to it. You're going to hear that name come up quite a bit in the future. There's something going on with that in a good way. But people that are investing money in that, you know, if that company folds and that money is gone, that's it. It's gone.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you know, as far when you crowdfund for this Joni documentary, you ain't entitled for no money back. Now, if the guy, you know, in Zaldo takes the money and never had any intention on making the documentary, then you could get in some legal trouble for it. But, you know, for people that like Courtney and others that want us to talk about it, on the May 9th Breakfast with Blassie, I talked about, you know, having private conversations with people very, very close to Joni Law and her mother and everything else. And, you know, they gave me a lot of behind the scenes stuff that isn't even public right now. You know, to even a point, I don't even know if this has been made public, but just one example that I'll just tell now. I was talking to someone who is very, very close to the situation, and I'm not going to mention a person's name publicly, but, you know, when Joni Laura was, she was cremated, they wanted her ashes to be spread across like a certain area, and I think the other half of the ashes was supposed to be given to the mother. And it ends up that this Anzaldo guy kept all the ashes, you know, and they think that he was going to possibly try to, you know, sell them in the future or something. Like, as disturbing as that sounds. When she was found, all of her jewelry was gone. You know, she had one or two particular jewelry items that she used to always, like, it would just like good luck and would never ever leave her body, and the jewelry was gone. There's a lot of little things that aren't public, from what I understand, that sooner or later it'll come out. I'm just not going to be the one, because I learned my lesson with the Perry Saturn Kamala stuff. So I ain't going there no more. But, you know, there's, again, in this country, getting back to the stuff with Warrior and what I was saying before, you know, you do have the capability of redeeming yourself under certain circumstances in this country. And, you know, it's just unfortunately in this day and age, you don't get that opportunity, or people will not let you have that opportunity.
Yeah, it's a popularity contest, too. I mean, it's a big hypocrisy. What's right for some isn't right for necessarily all. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So, you know, the Mauro documentary, everyone should check it out.
Yeah,
it's definitely gonna, you know, it's gonna blow some people away. It's some scenes you might be very uncomfortable with, but will it save some lives? Yeah, I think some people will get help or try to help others get help. But again, I kind of wish sooner than later that Showtime offers this for free for people to see.